Well, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm obviously a newer captain to the scenery.
Hmm.
It's been like 10 years I've been running trips out of Olcott. Basically, it was my retirement gig. I
Yeah.
retired out of the fire service municipality and wanted to get more into the fishing. And I fished my whole life with my father back in the 80s, back in the old, we call them the old days and old lures. And,
Yeah.
I always bring them out, and guys are like, what are you using them things for? It's like, well, that's what I grew up on fishing.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I like to fish with. I know it works and catches fish, and last year I basically upgraded my boat and took over Vin's older boat, and now it's we're stepping up. I guess they tell me in the world I'm stepping up in the world, and trying to make more trips and spend more time out on the water.
I want to interject a little bit. I feel like I've seen them come and go, and there's a few guys that have a little something. They have a little eye for things and
Mhm.
are innovators. A little bit of an instinctive fisherman. And Anthony's one of those guys. I mean, maybe it was because his dad got him involved when it was tough. He had a little bit of instincts. We didn't have all the help we have now, but not only networking, but electronics. But yeah, he's a pleasure to talk to at the end of the day. And a lot of times, he'll be right there catch wise, and it's not even anything close to what I was doing. And that always interests me a lot, So it's a pleasure having him at our marina. And he took over the big Viking, and it was quite a jump for him. And looking forward to seeing him enjoy that.
Yep.
Yeah. Your charter is called Redemption?
Yep, Redemption. So we started with a different one than when I first started out, but it's Redemption is going to stay there for a long time, and hopefully long in the future, and keep fishing and keep bringing those salmon over the rail of the boat.
What's behind the name?
So everybody asked me that. So my original charter was Triple E Charters, and everybody was be like, "What's with the three E's?" And it was basically me and my two boys, and first getting started, and everybody asked. So it meant something to me, but for the general public, it didn't. It wasn't nothing, no catchiness there. So I realized, business related and being new to it, I was like, I got to have a name that catches people's eye. There's a reason that means something. So my boys named it, and I really think they named it after the video game Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
But we took Redemption, and it means a lot to people. If they had a bad day trip this year, and we get them next year, and they come out and we go get them again. We have the redemption on it, so it all stuck and just kept going. And, people that are religious, it means stuff to that. So it just means a lot in the, general conversation. And so it meant something to somebody looking for a charter or a trip. And, part of that marketing phase of, why do you pick who you go with?
Yeah.
And basically what it came down to.
Well, that's a great question. What am I going to get if I go fishing with you? What's a day on Redemption like?
Well, a day with us, and I had Bill Heights out a few times, and he asked me the same thing. And a day with me, it's straight up fun. I mean, I'm retired. I typically only do one trip a day. I'm not all about the 2 trips a day. Do I do them? Yes, but I want to go out there. I want to have a good time. I want to have fun. I want clients to have a good time. I'm all about them getting involved. I'm not against them grabbing rods. I pay for that a little bit.
Yeah.
I broke a couple rods last year with clients grabbing rods, but as I tell them, my wife won't ever let me go buy new stuff if I don't break stuff, and I have a reason to go buy new stuff. So I kind of use that as the excuse, like, all right, I gotta go buy a new rod or a whole new set. I have OCD really bad, as a lot of us do. Like,
I think that's something that charter captains all have.
I mean, you gotta be perfect. I mean, I can't have one rod that's different.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta have them all the same. I may be able to go a day, but the next day it's gotta be. Yeah, you're right, because other charter captains, they'll come over to the boat and they'll flip down a rod holder. I'm like, getting on. I'm like, who did that? Who's been on the boat? Somebody did something.
Well, that's Anthony's humble guy, and that leads us into the next broken rod. He started a business. Yeah. He could tell you a little bit about.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So basically, it came down to is I run a lot of artificial cut bait, and I ran some of the stuff with the metal strips in them, and there's a ton of stuff on the market, and none of it's bad. It's all got its purpose and reason. My whole, we go back to right to the very beginning introduction. I mean, my fishing day started in the 80s.
Mhm.
We fished cut bait. It wasn't even cut bait. It was live bait. We went to the tackle shop. We got live bait. We trolled around live bait, in rigs, and that's what we fished with.
Mhm.
I started my career, didn't do a whole lot of fishing because I was busy with that. And then when I got back into the fishing, this whole cut bait thing came out because you couldn't do live bait anymore.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not familiar with this cut bait thing, kind of, unfamiliar. So being new into it, I didn't know all the tricks in the trade of like tuning and bending and like how do I get this stuff to run. So I got hooked up with Musclehead Tackle, who makes a head that you really don't have to tune it. It's just it is what it is.
Mhm.
So that's my cut bait program, and Vin will tell you like that's all I run is Muscleheads.
Mhm.
I have a super amount of confidence in them. I know what I can put down and when. I run them anywhere from with paddles, with no Twinkies, like we call them, nakeds. And I even go to the extreme of we call one bare naked, which is simply just a head.
Mhm.
No paddles, no nothing, just a head. And I run them like they're spoons half the time.
Mhm.
So there's times I'm running 12, rods like most guys are, and I'm running all meat because it's a meat bite, and it can be expensive, running meat. And to try to combat some of that expense, I started running artificial stuff. Long story short, I didn't really care for the metal stuff in it because it changed the tune of the head, and I'm already having a hard time like how to tune this stuff because I'm not that much experience with the meat program. So I don't want anything messing with my head. I want my head to do my work for me,
Mhm.
and I didn't need that metal strip in the artificial bait to throw that off, whatever that was. So I found some artificial bait that didn't have any metal in it. It was great, except for they're obsolete, and it was like finding the bottom of the back corner that they were stuck in. That there was a couple packs still left. Like give them all to me. Well, you run through them, you lose them, whatever. And I still have some, but I just brought me my own idea, and I just started making them myself and did some research and made some molds, and I make them all out of silicone. They're super glow. There's lots of them out there as far as product, but we'll try to show this on the screen here. But they become super glow, and it's pretty unique as far as what's out on the market. And there's a bunch of different designs because what I found making them, it was hard for me to duplicate.
Yeah.
I only got 5 molds, so I can pour 5 at a time, and then I would try to duplicate the exact same colors, and I'd pour them in. A shade would be lighter or darker, and they'd be like, you know what? I'm just gonna make them.
Mhm.
And guys will pick them, and they'll like what they want. I mean, I have one last year I caught 86 fish.
Wow.
It's just like it came out of the package. I'm gonna use it again this year. So
Mhm.
they hold up. So it's not like you have to buy a ton of them. It's not a business I'm trying to make a bunch of money. I'm trying to give guys out there some more options. If you have confidence in it and you run it, you can make it produce, and you can make a good day of fishing out of it and have a meat program per se.
Mhm.
Because there is something to that meat program and the big paddle program and all that. So that's kind of where it all came from. And this year is the first year last year was a bunch of testing, gave a bunch of stuff to captains, and this year I had a lot of good reviews. So this year was the year that we made a bunch, and we have them here at the show, and guys are gobbling them up.
So you brought this one. It's like a white glow.
Yep. So
How many colors do you got?
So I got there's a whole slew of colors. I got blacks with green glows and blacks with blue glows, and I got this is a multicolor. It's a green glow with a red tail on the back of it. As far as the glow, we have just natural ones. A lot of guys last year like, look, I just want something natural. When I run artificial, I want to run natural. Okay, got it. I got a couple that are just UV, so there's no real glow. It's just a UV thing. If you charge these for a minute, they last around 4 hours charge. So they're super pigmented in there as far as the charging capabilities. And you charge them with the black lights or the UV lights or sunlight, and they'll stay lit for a good time down there. And I would say if you haven't caught something on it in that time frame, you should have been changing it out way before then. Go to something different. It's not working. I'm humble to say that it's just another option out there. It's just trying to give guys something else that they can use and still get out there in the water. And I don't ever not worry about fishing meat because I always have it.
Mm-hmm.
If I forget my meat and the real stuff, okay, I guess we're just fish artificial today. It's not a big deal. We're gonna catch fish either way. So I never have to worry about the I forgot my meat at the dock.
We got a question from James on YouTube. He says, what way have you found to be the best way to store meat rigs?
meat
Meat
rigs and
rigs.
whole
The
in
rig.
general, the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I store all of mine on my paddle stick. I keep them paired up,
Mm-hmm.
and I store them right on just a pool noodle wrapped around it, and that. If you have a plane like it's all broken down, I use all the just tube storage, and they all slide right in there so that I can look at them, and then if I want to make something different, then I can put it together. But for the most part, my go-to stuff, it's all ready to go. I mean, I'm not putting stuff together while I go out there. It's all ready to go before we leave the dock. Meat and stuff's already in it. So when we stop, again, back to what do you expect on my boat? When we stop, we're fishing.
Mhm.
There's no half an hour, let's get stuff ready and set up and fish. We're fishing right off the get go. You know,
It's an
Vince?
ongoing issue, storing meat.
oh
rigs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ongoing issue. Most of us have multitudes of options and color options and you name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem isn't your starters, it's when you realize things are changing and I need to make an adjustment here and you start going into the stuff that's in reserve. You're going to your bench. That's where the storage ideas, don't feel bad for ever asking that because I think it's an ongoing evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for that new tackle box that makes it easier to go grab something quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't come out with a spaghetti nest of lures and stuff. So
Oh.
absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people that shy away from fishing meat just because it seems like a lot of work, or maybe it's a hassle, and making sure they're tuned may be more difficult than just throwing some spoons out. What would you say to people who want to get started in running meat?
You want to answer?
Well,
My answer's
I would
simple.
say it's not supposed to be easy because it is the last hurrah,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially if you're running the real thing, right? You're trying to defeat that fish's defenses to get them to go. But certainly an artificial herring product cuts the learning curve because you can have confidence in the colors
Mm-hmm.
and the tuning is easier. And so it might be a great way to know if you're even putting the right colors in the water and your speed's right because you're getting bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the final chapter of what is a complicated program to begin with,
Very.
is tuning it. So this gives you an option to shortcut on tuning it. So I would say, give them a try because even if you're loyal to natural stuff, you certainly can shorten the learning curve and shorten your progress. It's no different than football. A coach in a football team or a quarterback going through his progressions, it's no different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to minimize that and you're getting bit on an artificial piece, then you've got the colors picked out properly and it's helping you get it tuned right.
I mean, my biggest thing goes right back to when I first started doing it, and I run I run only muscle heads because I'm confident in them, but I run meat, real stuff. And at the start, I was trying to take as many human variables out of it. And those human variables are tuning a head. So I went with a muscle head because I don't have to tune that head. And went with artificial bait because it's going to be the same every time. I'm not going to get a big piece of meat versus a small piece of meat. And it changed the roll that I really don't understand yet.
Mm-hmm.
With a muscle head, it didn't change the roll because it's going to roll whatever way that head's going to make it roll. So I was trying to eliminate human variables of that complex program and make it something I could work with on my system.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just become so comfortable with it and confident in it. That's what I use.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I use.
And Great Lakes fishermen are some of the most innovative guys that there are.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is just another great innovation. And, I'm happy to see Anthony having some success with it.
Yeah, one of those things that if people have been maybe a little bit, intimidated by fishing meat, this will make it easier for them, and they can go out and be a little more confident with it. And
Yeah.
the other thing is obviously storing. It's a lot easier than storing
Yeah.
storing the real thing.
Yeah, storing it, you really don't have to store it in any special way. I do store all mine in a little container,
Mm-hmm.
and I put the Berkeley Gulp Recharge, just like they use in their like rubber and artificial minnows that they use.
Mm-hmm.
I just put just a smudge in there. If they're using it, I figure it's got to be good for what we're using it. I don't know that it adds a bunch of scent, but it's there. And but yeah, you don't have to worry about it going bad.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing you gotta worry about is losing one. So
Yeah.
if you don't lose it, you can use it and keep using it.
So once you
absolutely.
start talking about meat, you start getting some comments and questions. And Scott wants to know. He says he's planning to batch up a bunch of skipjack herring from the Mississippi River into meat for doing this. Do you know if anyone uses skipjack for their meat rigs on the Great Lakes?
I'll answer that one. I don't know of anyone that does, but I will predict that it will work, especially if it's oily, because that's been a common thread in what does work. Right now, people use different herring from both sides, Atlantic and Pacific, alewives, and even ballyhoo.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that go south every year,
Yep.
catching and cutting their own ballyhoo and trying to mimic it. A lot of work,
Yep.
a lot of preserving freezer space, but I think it will work for that gentleman that asked. Yeah.
All right, here's another one. Jim and Carrie Carker. Do you feel like the scent on live bait has an advantage over lures? And if so, do you know of any scent applied to lures that has been more effective?
That question's been on every TV show. I don't care if it's bass, walleye, pike, tuna, marlin. I would say that depends on the day. People hate hearing that. It's like a cop-out answer, but it's 100% true. And I kind of favor the question that comes from the bass world, that when it does work, it's because it's masking negative odors more than it's drawing fish in. I would say that on the days where natural bait outfishes artificial, I would say it's definitely having an impact.
Yeah.
And that is, again, going to be not only day to day, but hour to hour. And, we can't really ask that strip of meat when the scent's gone. If it's down, did it go away in 10 seconds? Or was it an hour later? And that is the consistency that he's talking about, Anthony's talking about, with taking some variables out. That isn't one of the variables.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same when you put it down. He knows what size he has. The guys that are doing a better job with selling natural bait are providing uniform pieces.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things with artificial. They're uniform.
Yep.
So, that makes it easier to duplicate things.
I've played around with a bunch of different scents and putting them on spoons and flies and meat and all that stuff. And basically what it came down to me is back when we were talking about, we got our A game and we go out there and everything's working, we don't worry about it.
Yep.
When we start digging, we're trying to figure out the B game. Okay, maybe that's when it makes a difference, because fishing's tough. Something's changed, water's changed. So the fish are there. We just got to figure out what else do they want, and maybe that scent doesn't help that day. But it goes right back to those 6 days out of that year that we didn't do very good on artificial and the real stuff worked. Maybe it was the scent because they had the scent on it, and if I would have put some scent on it, it would have changed it. But I didn't want to sway what I was trying to accomplish at the end of that year, so I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I would do that. I'd be like, all right, the real stuff's working. I'll just put some herring oil on mine, and I bet you I'll catch fish on the fake stuff because I just made it smell like the real stuff. So
Right.
I think it just comes down to those variables for that day.
Yeah, it's funny to me. I fish in the Great Lakes, and you go fishing with a lot of really accomplished Great Lakes anglers, and they're like, I'm not using that stuff. You go West Coast, like they won't put lines in the water without it. Like they're putting it on everything. And I've actually played around with it in the Great Lakes, and procure bloody tuna. I'm just saying, if you're out there, and you're not getting bites, put it on, because I've seen it turn stuff on. It's crazy. But like I said, it's just funny, just the region that you go in, everybody thinks
Yep.
differently, and
I
like,
mean, I've used the Kishel stuff around here because it's a local guy, so I have some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Yep.
But it's not an everyday. It's on those
Yep.
rough days, like nothing's working. It's slow bite. All right, we'll try this and maybe
Yeah.
get that. Maybe it makes that difference.
Awesome.
So
Well, Anthony, appreciate you coming on, man. It's
thank you
fun
for
talking
having
to
me.
you. Good meeting you.